Peace, everyone. Welcome to Karmic Dynasty. I am Joy Allen. You new to Karmic Dynasty. I appreciate you being here. And today I have for the platform part two, a memoir. The Temple of America document. Again, this is part two. In the event you missed part one, in the event you forgot, don't remember, or you missed the part of part one that talks about how I came about this video, which is this presentation, which is what I do my best to always share. And the foundation of this series right now, there's 4 parts. That information is in part one. The link is in the description. Go check it out. Now, some housekeeping right quick. Yes, I am still collecting books for my tour to Washington, D.C. Upcoming next year's fraudulent Gregorian timeline. Next year-ish, will again be taking those donated books for the children of the Washington, D.C. area to promote literacy awareness in that area. If you're not sure how to get the books to me, if I'm not going to see you and pick up the books from you, if you have any inquiries on how I'm going to get those books that you will want to donate to me to Washington, D.C., my information's in the ticker. You can contact me. I appreciate every parent continuous questions about the upcoming tour that will be in Washington, D.C. And as that actual rest of that tour event develops, I will be definitely sure to share that information. Right now, what I can say concerning the tour is I will be in Atlanta the week of August 3rd. So y'all can put that on your calendar. I will be there. Other than that, I don't know when I'll be where as far as plans go. So either way, here in the upper right corner of your screen, you'll see my logo is dark, grayish, grayed out instead of turquoise. And again, for those of you who have a message I'm sharing, and I'm here to share a message. So you came here to look in my face. This is the best I can do for you today. Gratitude. Nail to the PowerPoint. Part two. Let's get into it. All right. So with part one and all parts, the presentations will start with the prayer. And as parts, some silence for those that want to acknowledge, observe the prayer, and or read it, get familiar with it. You don't know. A few moments of silence, please. Gratitude. So I shared that prayer. As I said, I'm showing the first part and I'll say each part. And I will also end my presentations with that same prayer on the PowerPoint slide because temples that I did visit, this is how those meetings, those visits started and ended with the prayer. So respectfully, that's what I'm doing. All right, so next slide. Again, the quote, in the words of Noble Drew Ali, the only way out of the fire is through the fire. right of the people whom have been left out there in public domain to proclaim their true status in order to save themselves. Again, this is a continuation of a document, a partial document. So if you want to know how I got to this point, review part 1. The link is in the description. Moving forward, and then we're going to look at a website right quick. Remove the interchangeable labels of Negroes, Blacks, and African American from judicial bonds of the 14th and 15th Amendment. Right now, I'm sharing this website, and from the Library of Congress, this article is titled "The Civil Rights Act of 1964, A Long Struggle for Freedom." The Civil Rights Act of 1964. Let me make sure this is, y'all can't see that. Hold up. Maybe you can, but hold up. Stand by. Gratitude. Okay, let's try that. That's better. Okay. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was rooted in the struggle of Americans of African descent to obtain basic rights of citizenship in the nation. Anti-slavery initiatives had gradually abolished the peculiar institution in the northern states by the 1830s, but free blacks were not accorded full citizenship, and economic dominance of slaveholders hindered discussion of abolition. Discord between the North and South ultimately led to civil war and finally emancipation of slaves. Here in this photograph, we have Frederick Douglass, and he's seated beside his grandson. That image is there, in case you didn't know. All right. In the aftermath of the Civil War, Northern Republicans in Congress proposed the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the U.S. Constitution that granted the newly freed slaves freedom, citizenship, and the right to vote, respectively. Several civil rights acts were passed in an attempt to protect the freedom of the free population. During the Reconstruction era, African American men participated in electoral politics as voters and as public officials. Federal protection of the rights of blacks was dealt a major defeat with the Compromise of 1877, when Southern Democrats conceded the closely contested 1876 presidential election to Republican Rutherford B. Hayes in exchange for the withdrawal of federal troops from the South. Blacks, however, continue to attend schools and churches, participate in politics, and exert their rights as citizens as much as possible in the face of growing white resistance and violence. In a number of cases culminating with 1883 civil rights cases, the Supreme Court slaughterhouse cases decisions reinforced white Southern efforts to consign blacks to an inferior legal and social status. States in the South gradually adopted a variety of methods to disenfranchise black voters and instituted Jim Crow segregation laws mandating the separation of the races in practically every aspect of life. Debt peonage, involuntary servitude of laborers, sharecropping, and tenant farming often reduced blacks to generational poverty. The Ku Klux Klan and other white supremacist organizations engaged in lynchings, beatings, and burnings to keep African American voters away from the polls or any type of political activity. Before I continue, and I'm thinking about it, drink water. All right, so I do have an upcoming documentary that I'm creating, and it is in regards to the history of lynching. I was actually a few places on site. I have video and images support what I'll be bringing to you all, and definitely means and supports the reason why I'll be in southern states this summer, looking into my family background a little bit closer, and maybe giving you a few reasons why you should as well. It'd be great if not. It'd be great if not. It'd be great if not. The less of our people that have been lynched, the better. Signing, but definitely, definitely informational documentary coming in the near future. So either way, beginning in the 1870s, blacks migrated in increasing numbers from the South to North, a phenomenon that would ultimately transform the racial geography of the country. In 1896, the Supreme Court sanctioned the legal separation of the races with its ruling in the case Plessy versus Ferguson. Popular black leader Booker T. Washington advised African Americans. He advised the African Americans to focus on education and economic self-improvement, strategies he deemed necessary to acquire on the road to civil rights in the face of racism. In reference to blacks and whites, he said in 1895, in all things purely social, we can be as separate as the fingers, yet one as the hand in all things essential to mutual progress. So, just for observation's sake, um, so are the people African Americans? Are the people blacks? Um, with all the switch up of the terminology. So again, remove the interchangeable labels of Negroes, blacks, and African American from the judicial bonds of the 14th and 15th Amendment. The age of mental slavery. This dark age has led to a 135-year myth of black freedom. 135 years full of myths in regards to black freedom. Okay. The myth of black freedom has an entire people laboring to reach an unreachable status of first class citizen with taxation, without proper representation, and the serving of gods that are not their own and of whom they know nothing. During the time of U.S. slavery and 135 post slavery years of assumable jurisdiction, the concept of a family has faded. The concept of a family has faded, and the genealogy of a tribe is very foreign to the ex slaves. Each Moorish family born in the United States is a tribe and part and parcel of the Moorish American nation, according to Act 6. For the record, I have Act 6. It's here in the document. I don't know which part, but it's definitely, I brought it right here. Act 6 says, with us, all citizens must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah the great God of the universe, ordained noble Drew Ali the prophet to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the western shores of Africa. So again, according to Acts 6, each Moorish family born in the United States is a tribe and part and parcel of the Moorish American nation. Moving forward. All state certified birth certificates, U.S. Social Security numbers, and other United States identifications rest upon ex post facto laws and are bogus and fraudulent. An unfortunate common occurrence, organization, church, or secret society has the power to free, has the power to free. Hold on, y'all, my bad. The colored people and make them one, but this is not a possibility. One must proclaim themselves in order to be themselves. Otherwise, they will only be what others label them to be. Otherwise, they will only be what others label them to be, with names that change every time conditions change. With names that change every time conditions change. So now I'm going to right quick another website, sharing on the screen, enlarging the print. From blackpast.org. It's called the 1865 Reconstruction Amendments, 1865 through 1870. So here is pictured a document. Again, if you want to look at this further, go to blackpast.org, and the article title is here. And that is, it says here, the joint resolution proposing the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution, courtesy U.S. National Archives. Amendments 13 through 15 are called the Reconstruction Amendments, both because they were the first enacted right after the Civil War and because all address questions related to the legal and political status of the African Americans. And we just talked about labels. Reading, if you're interested, you're not sure, you want to recap, review. 13th Amendment is here. Section 1 and 2. Reading briefly, right quick. Section 1, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, whereof the parties shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Section 2, Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. There is more to this article, and it links and references. Either way, the 14th Amendment is here, showing 5 sections. What is that asterisk for? Okay. Either way, and the 15th Amendment. And so this is all just something I want to share for those who may not be sure or aware. This is something you could look into and study for and review yourself. Back to the PowerPoint. The illustrious lineage reveals they are the founders and the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire with its dominion and habitation of kingdoms, nations, tribes, and families of Northwest and Southwest Africa, extending across the great Atlantis, even into the present North, Central, and South Americas, and also Mexico and Atlantis Islands. Moorish Americans are not Negroes, colored folks, or Black people, etc., etc. These names were given to slaves by slaveholders. Again, We've covered this today in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of duly constituted slavery in the United States. But this is a new era of time now. We've covered this. All men must, all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by their government and the nations of the earth. We hold these truths to be self evident that man is made in the image and after the likeness of the great God, their creator, that no man can be Negro, black, or colored and be attached to the human family. European rulers gave these labels to the Moors of West Africa in a process of denationalization. In a process of denationalization. Right now, we are looking at this article is from JSTOR, and it's from a publication. It's called Changing Racial Labels from Colored to Negro to Black to African American. The abstract of it, and I'm reading this in part. If you want to, you can get the Public Opinion Quarterly, published by Oxford University Press, and download it. And the abstract says labels play an important role in defining groups. Let me work on magnifying this. A few moments. Gratitude and drink water. All right. Labels play an important role in defining groups and individuals who belong to the groups. This has been especially true for racial and ethnic groups in general and for Blacks in particular. Over the past century, the standard term for Blacks has shifted. Over the past century, century is 100 years. So in 100 years, the term went from colored to Negro to Black and now African American. Those are four labels. Every 25 years, the label average, let's say estimate, change. Labels change. The changes can be seen as attempts by Blacks to redefine themselves. Okay. And to gain respect and standing in a society that has held them to be subordinate and inferior. Okay. Racial labels have been of special importance to Black Americans. Wrenched from their native lands, Blacks lost their core personal identities, tribal affiliation, kinship ties, language, and many other cultural attributes were destroyed when Blacks were enslaved by an alien culture in a foreign land. As Blacks gradually began to achieve emancipation or to gain ground under slavery, they forged a new culture and formed institutions and organizations to serve their needs and promote their interests. This effort has continually regulated by white society, which strictly controlled Blacks and sought to shape and regulate Black status and consciousness. The development of a Black community accelerated after the Civil War with the abolition of slavery. I'm like, I really don't know this word right now. Abolition of slavery, but white racism in general and the Southern system of segregation in particular severely hampered progress. I can't even read any more of this. I just wanted to share this little bit. Again, let's work on changing the narrative, people. Let's write the stories for yourself. Create your own narratives. Don't have people give them the space and room to write your story for you. That's my piece on that right there. I was so far gone in that one. I could abolition. Abolition. Okay, the state of Negro leaves a people in want of national roots. Everything I'm reading from this PowerPoint is from a document of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Anything outside of this is what I've been pulling up on the internet, what I had prepared, and I don't have anything left of that. So rest of this presentation today is this PowerPoint, and I don't have that much left to share. Gratitude. The state of the Negro, again, leaves a people in want of national roots. Albeit the carnal customs of man do not alter the nature of truth or the course of justice. For man alone is reposed with consciousness, endowed with wisdom, and appointed with the gifts of the understanding from his immutable treasures, while being armed with resolution. Again, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice has graced the Moors. The Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice has graced the Moors. With these unalienable rights, and the key of civilization to uplift fallen humanity. We talked about the key and uplifting fallen humanity in part 1, along with other things. Moving forward with this slide, that among these inherent rights are belief, faith, and fruition of 9, perfectness, and peace. Although the United States has never been without some form of her Negro slaves, the general American public has been kept in an esoteric history about its inevitable true proclamation of status and the hallowed free national name of the Moorish American natives. The Moorish Americans, commensurable to every nationality, have the divine and national right to be themselves. With hearts and minds pure with love and bodies clean with water, they are free. And again, as I've said before, and we're closing out. That's what these words of Noble Drew Ali signify in my presentations in these 4 parts I'm presenting. Today we're ending part 2. I don't come here to take all y'all time. I'll be brief as I can when I can. So closing out, the only way out of the fire is through the fire. And again, in closing, as always, when I visit the temple, this is what I know, the prayer. Some few moments, take part in the prayer how you see fit. Gratitude. And that is my presentation for part 2. Again, this is a memoir of Karmic Dynasty, Joy Allen. A M.S.T of a document. This is part 2. I appreciate everyone for being here. And for those of you who are not familiar, I've said it 2 days ago. I'm going to say it again today. I am not posting, sharing, participating in Facebook any longer. So my Joy Allen Facebook is not in the ticker, but it is in all most of my previous videos. So if somebody's watching one of those videos, they want to see or something I reference, my page is left there for that reason. So again, I appreciate everyone's time. And yes, I am donating books for the children of the Washington, D.C. area to deliver again on my tour. As you see in my on-screen avatar, this was me at the Sankofa bookstore with the delivery of the donated books for the tour. and Ramutef Queb helped me, assisted me with the tour and the delivery of those books. Very heavy items once collected, so I appreciate him being there. And from what I know, he'll be there next year to assist me again with delivering those books. You want to come out and help deliver the books. They do get weighted, as we know, as they get collected. So I appreciate anyone that will come along to help deliver the books. If anything else, you just come along to take part and contribute to the children of the DC area. Just your presence alone would be important. So if you don't do anything but show up, that's much appreciated. Again, Karmic Dynasty is a fiat free event platform. So only thing it's going to cost you is some things like your time, and I appreciate your time, your energy, your effort. Even if you plan to come and something happened last minute, you couldn't come, I appreciate your thought. I'll extend it out to the DC area when I go. It might cost you something like room and board. It might cost you something like travel, way, round trip, bus ticket, Greyhound, car rental, Enterprise. Y'all know some of y'all just probably walk around the corner or get on the bus because you local, catch a cab or Lyft or Uber. That's enough for me to see you at my event. I'm not charging no ticket prices. I think we pay enough price. I appreciate every time we get together and we come together. So I appreciate you all being here. Peace to everyone. In the words of my share, Abdiel Ben Levy L. Peace to the guys and goddesses from YouTube. I appreciate the royal matriarch being here, Cherie Reed L. Hashtag Unoccupied Turtle Island. Speaking Grand Evening Royals from YouTube. She's my moderator here. One of them is Shay Pink 40. She's a moderator as well. She speaks hi fam in chat from YouTube. Hi, peace, love, and all that to everyone. And sharing here from my moderators and my sharer. Abdiel says he's not a moderator, he's a sharer. So I appreciate my sharers and my moderators being here this evening. And I'll be in touch. I'll be back on the platform. It's scheduled 2 days from now. I can't tell you right now, remember what I'm doing, but I'll be back here in 2 days. Appreciate you all.